Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight podcast. I got a very special guest, especially those that from the 804 to Richmond area and Hokie Nation members. You're very familiar with this guy. I got Bryan still in the building. I called him B Still. A lot of my teammates. One of the fastest players I've ever seen on the football field and even at practice. We're going to get to that later in this discussion, this interview. But real happy to have B Still. B Still, how you been doing, man?
I'm good, man. Just happy to be here, sitting around bored just like everybody else during these days of quarantine or whatever they want to call it. Gradual reopening now, I guess. So, yeah, I'm good, though.
Yeah, it's real good to see you, man. So before we talk about what you're doing now, we're going to go back to where it all started. But before I do that, where are you living now? And are you married? Do you have any kids? What's going on? I see you talking to one of your kids.
Yeah. So I'm in Richmond, outside of Richmond in Chesterfield. Just teaching, coaching. Got two sons. Ian, my 13-year-old, is talking to me right now about something and telling me somebody at my door. And then I got a 19-year-old. This also there. So Ian, go answer the door and tell who he or she is. It our family? Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So you're in the Richmond area, but when you were at Virginia Tech, you were known as one of the fastest and one of the best receivers in school history. But before you got to Virginia Tech, many people, because we didn't have Twitter and recruiting services weren't as popular, 247 and Rivals, many people don't know exactly how you got to Virginia Tech. Like, who got you into football? Did you run track? What exactly got you to the point and who got you involved in sports before you got to Virginia Tech when you were growing up?
So I started growing up in Martinsville, Virginia, which is southwestern Virginia, known mostly for their racetrack. My family grew up from there. My mom was born there. Most of my family is from Martinsville. And my mom wanted to get up out of Martinsville when I was about 4 years old, so she moved us to Richmond. And when I moved to Richmond, we just started, we lived in an apartment complex where there was a whole lot of kids around. And then going outside playing, all we played was football. So I'm 4 years old, move around the apartments, and we just playing football every single day. We used to play a game, they call it many things, but back when I played, we used to play throw it up and run or pick it up and run, whichever one they wanted to call it. You throw the ball up and then every man for himself. So I started playing football like that, and people was always like, man, you got a little quickness with you, man. You need to play. So when I got to about, 7, 8 years old, I went to the rec center, just like a lot of kids do these days, go to the rec center and signed up for football. Mom signed me up for football. So she went and signed me up. I played for the Westover Warriors back in the day, just a South Richmond youth league team and stuff. So I was playing football with them, started out as a little tight end. They used to give me the end around, fake it up the middle, be still, you're going to run around the end. They used to give it to me, take it on in. Then the next couple of years, they made me a running back, but I was the littlest, fastest little running back. And then, got to high school, and I was like, man, these dudes are a lot bigger, and I don't know if I want to run too many 42s straight up the middle. So I switched myself to a wide out when I got to Huguenot, and was fortunate enough to be good enough to get a scholarship. And when I was being recruited, I was recruited by a lot of ACC schools, and then like East Carolina. I was a good prospect, Roanoke Times top 25, but I think I was like number 15 or so. But when it came down to it, Blacksburg and Virginia Tech was my choice because that's the place that showed the most interest in me from the beginning. Plus the fact that they were a local college, university, and up and coming. And I felt like I could go in there and get in and play early. And they seemed like they wanted me. Plus my grandma and My aunt and all of them still lived in Martinsville, which is only an hour and a half away. And I've always felt like if I needed to go home, 3 hours to Richmond, hour and a half to Martinsville if I wanted to go. So, I had a pretty easy recruitment because it was easy for me to say yes to Virginia Tech.
Absolutely, and it paid huge dividends for both you and Virginia Tech. When you look, before we get into your time as a Hokie, let's go back to Huguenot for a second. What I remember about Huguenot in the 90s, I was in the Tirewood area. I was at Hampton, but I played in the All-Star game, or the VHS All-Star game with a guy named Quincy. We called him Q, receiver. And you guys were good. Like, y'all were a big-time program in back in the day. When you got to Huguenot, as what were you aware of the legacy, and what kind of seasons did you guys have while you were there?
So my first year at Huguenot was Coach McFee's first year at Huguenot, 1988. And up until 88, Huguenot had been the doormat of the Dominion District back then. But we had a good team my freshman year. Coach McFee came in, changed the whole mentality, and made us believe that we were going to be good. And I just remember being a freshman, not knowing anything really about high school football, but I noticed like every game that we went to, there was floats and parades and like stuff all going on. I'm like, what's going on? And then somebody finally told me, they like, yeah, y'all are the homecoming game. So every team that we played had us scheduled for their homecoming because we had been bad for so long. But that year was our year. And in 1988, my freshman year, we went undefeated all the way to the state championship game. End up losing the state championship game to EC Glass, but finished the best team ever in Huguenot history, 13-1 state runner-ups. Then my sophomore year, we went undefeated in the regular season again, only to have 3 of our victories, what do they call it? Like we end up having to forfeit them for using an ineligible player, some garbage they made up, somebody didn't pass enough classes.
Yeah, or somebody went and reported it because Huguenot wasn't supposed to be on top.
Right.
You know how that go.
So had to forfeit 3 games, but still went undefeated, made the playoffs, 10-0 on the field, 7-3 in the record. But we ended up getting upset the first round. So that was my sophomore year. We got upset in the first round. That was my first year playing on the varsity. My freshman year, I dressed out for the games, just to fill out the team. Didn't get in any games. But my sophomore year, I played a little bit in the varsity games. Then my junior year, we made it to the regional final, lost to a Verona team that was pretty loaded. Then my senior year, we were 7-3, had lost a lot of talent. I had like 4 or 5 different quarterbacks or people that I caught passes from my senior year. We ended up going 7-3. But didn't make the playoffs that year, and then I was off. But and while I was in high school, I was always running track, played a little basketball here or there, but track and football were my main sports in high school.
And track, real quickly, track. Obviously you were one that I always say this, even though I was never on your level, guys like Andre Davis with speed, but I find it remarkable that you one of the few guys, along with Dre and David Wilson, guys that were excellent track runners and could have ran collegiately or on that level, but it was able to translate it over to the football field.
Yeah,
for me, how was that?
Yeah, for me, I was always a football player, so I wasn't a track guy that came to football because I was fast.
Gotcha.
I was a football player from the beginning, who end up just running track because the coach saw me out there one day. He was like, "Man, you fast." so yeah. And I wish, some of the things that I wish I probably could have done a little bit different. Like on the track, if I had really put some effort into it, I probably could have been, pretty good. I was always afraid to run in college because I didn't want anybody to be faster than me. You know how it was at Tech. Be still fast, man. Be still.
Yeah.
Be fast. I didn't want to go out on the track and get showed up. Then everybody be like, "Oh, well, you ain't that fast."
Yeah, no, I know, because those guys are running. And that's true, because I remember when I first got to Tech, I just recently interviewed Hank Coleman and his son, who's going to Duke, also from Richmond. We were talking about when you first get to college. I remember when I first got to Tech is how big and strong and talented the guys were, such as yourself. But I also remember in conditioning seeing you and Corny White just killing it. You know what I'm saying? So like just fast and like just fast for no reason. It was just amazing. But let's talk about Tech. So your first year at Tech, because what I remember when I was being recruited my year in '94, you guys are kind of taking the lumps and you guys were part of building and setting everything up for that magical run in '95. But, you chose Tech, but unlike today, Tech did not have that tradition in pageantry. It wasn't a household name, even in the state. Like UVA was more the premier program. We were in the Big East, which was a newer conference. You took a chance going to Tech, and did you foresee what happened later on when you chose Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I went there with the faith in Coach Beamer and all the other coaches that we was going to turn ourselves into something. When I was in high school, Tech was on TV, maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times during the season. So not that much, but I knew they was on TV. And then they sold me on the Big East, like you say, up and coming conference that's going to increase our visibility. We got a TV contract now. We're going to get more on TV. We're going to play Miami. That was like, I was like, man, we're going to play Miami too. And then the thing for me, we're going to get to go to Florida. I've never been to Florida. I'm going to go down there. That's just going to be sweet. So that's what I was thinking. That's what sold us. Like we get to play Syracuse. We play in Miami. And, in the early 90s, those were like some quality teams. Then you put West Virginia in there and Pitt, and they got Heisman Trophy winners. They had a legendary coach also at the time. So I'm thinking, we're gonna get there and try to do something. And then when I got there, my freshman year, we were 2-8-1.
That's
the like, man, damn, like we 2-8-1. Like they're getting ready to fire. They are literally getting ready to fire Coach Beamer.
Yeah.
To the point where he had to pretty much disassemble his whole coaching staff to keep his job.
For sure.
And I'm telling you, the thing that turned us around, not only Coach Beamer, my favorite coach of all time, love him to death, man. That's my man. Beams is my man. Every time I see him, I tell him these words: Coach, you're my favorite coach of all time, and thank you for everything you did for me to help me, because I love me some Coach Beamer. But one of the smartest things he did was to bring in Elmo. Those that know Virginia Tech know when Phil Almation came in, he changed the whole just the whole
culture. Culture.
Yes, he cleaned that thing, slam up, got rid of those that didn't really want to be there. He brought them young boys like T. Gray, Banks, my man, number 20. Oh man,
D Knight.
Yes, he brought those boys in and had all them boys playing. All them boys playing good. My boy Stacey Henley, all them. He had all them boys right.
Well, B, what I remember, and I really do appreciate you saying that, because again, we're not the internet age, and Foster, legendary coach, the best defensive coordinator, top 2, 3, 5 all time. I don't really do all those lists, but I was there in '94, Almation's last year, and I knew Coach Almation because he recruited my high school, and I would see him growing up at Hampton. And I remember him being so intense. And I remember my redshirt year, I was on a scout team. I traveled, but I was on a scout team going against J.C. Price and them. And I remember Almation, he would make the scout team run a play over and over again. He was so intense. Everything had to be a certain way. He would make us condition after condition if we gave the defense a bad look. But he set the tone for Bud Foster, Coach Sharpless, and the other guys that were on that defensive staff. He doesn't get enough credit because he might be one of the best defensive minds I've ever been around as a coach. Just a really intense but very, very intelligent coach.
Yeah, I'm sure if you talk to Coach Foster, he would. I'm sure. I can probably guarantee that he would include Coach Almation as one of his key reasons for his longevity and his success, because he just took what Elmo taught him and just took it to a whole nother level and made that thing last. Because they did a terrific job at Tech for so many years after that too.
Have you been back to Tech? And
so I go back.
Okay.
I go back like I try to say I go back once a year. So my 19-year-old son, well, actually he's 20 now, as a matter of fact. So my son, I got 13, he's 20, because he just had a birthday May 5th. So he's coming up on his junior year at Tech. Hopefully, hopefully graduating pretty soon. So I go up there, every once in a while with him, not too much, because I don't like to make that drive.
No doubt.
But football-wise, I go like I'm kind of a fair weather football fan, to be quite honest. When we're messing around and not playing the way that I think we need to be playing, then I'm not going to watch it. Because if I'm sitting at home, I can turn it off. Yeah. If I go in the stadium, then there's no turning it off. You got to get up and leave. And so I go up there, like once we get ourselves back to where I feel like we need to be, then I'll go up there more. The last game I went to was probably 2 years ago. And I like Coach Fuente. He's doing a good job. We just got to get some better players. I mean, quite frankly, we got to. No, you're right. We got to take Virginia back. We got to get our boys from Virginia that ball and keep them out of Clemson and keep them on here.
Well, you got Lauren Johnson right down the road from you, who has created a powerhouse at Highland Springs, and he just had 2 guys get drafted. One, Mekhi Becton in the first round, and then Kevon Wallace in the 3rd round. So he's got another guy going to Clemson and another guy going here, there, East Carolina.
Didn't we have Becton at Tech?
He was going, but he didn't. He ended up choosing Louisville. Yeah.
I thought he spent some time at Tech for a minute.
No. Becton, he made his choice. I remember because I watched him his 4 years at Highland Springs. I remember being on the phone with LJ saying, "Hey, man, that guy is a future pro." I mean, I was a lineman. I saw it the very first time I saw him back when he won his first chip, man. But I only asked that question too about Tech because before we talk about your time as a player, does it ever? And I ask a few guys this, even when I'm just chopping it up with them, do you ever sit back and just take a breath and be like, yo, we built this? Because like my children have a hard time understanding, forget football, have a hard time understanding that those buildings, the culture there, how you can go in stores in Chicago and look on catalogs and see Virginia Tech gear, because what the new age fan realizes, we weren't on the video games. We weren't sponsored by Nike yet. I think we were Starter or Russell Athletic, bookstore. Everything was up and coming or a work in progress. And then after you turned it up in that Sugar Bowl and Freeman and Drunk and all the guys, Corny, all the guys, Jay Holmes, you created expectations along with Cornell and those guys that the following people, myself and everyone after came. So when you go there with your son and when you just look and say, bro, we did this.
A little bit, but not so much because, just like I do, we laid like the foundation, but Vic and them boys built all that stuff. We were good before Vic, but after Mike just took it. He just took it to a whole nother level. You just got to give him his props on that one. He took it to a whole nother level. He made Virginia Tech hip hop. He made it urban. He made it like you wanted to be it. He made it the thing to be. So we just got to give Vic his props for that. And we just feel like when I talk to people, they say, "Oh, do you play with Michael Vick?" I'm like, "Nah, I was before Vic, but we was good. We was coming." I played before Vic, didn't get a chance to play with him, but yeah, I do feel like we laid that foundation where a guy like Michael Vick would feel comfortable coming to a place like Tech because up until that '93 season, we hadn't been to a bowl game since the mid '80s. So when we went 93, 94, 95, y'all went 96, 97. I mean, all that. Just let a guy like Mike know, like, yeah, we can come here and dudes was going to the league and You know, it wasn't too far from home. And I always was like, man, we got to keep this stuff in Virginia, man. We Virginia boys. We ain't going to hype up and prop up Florida State and Clemson and all that. We're going to keep it in Virginia and put us on the map.
Nah, you're right. And, you know, it's funny. You talk about Mike, man. He would have loved you. When I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and he still feels he's got the best deep ball in the game. And he always he said it on camera. He said it to me many times. He would have loved to have a guy like Andre Davis. So I know he would have loved you because he just loves dropping that deep ball in, man. Speaking of the deep ball, I mean, as your teammate, I was a fan of yours because you worked hard. I remember, you know, you never really were caught up in anything. I used to watch you, how you carried yourself. You know, even at parties, you would check in and dip out. You know, you always low key, but everybody loved and respects you. But when you look at your career, you had a great career, man, and you had big moments at Tech, man. When you reflect on those days, what were some of your moments you remember about Tech? Was it the camaraderie? Was it the game against Texas in the Sugar Bowl? Was it West Virginia, Miami? Are there moments you always, when you reflect, you have a feeling of happiness about?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about my experience at Tech was like a growing situation kind of for me. So our program was growing at the same time as a young man. I'm growing right along with it. So I get there as a freshman, calling home to my mama every night, telling her how I hate it up there and how this ain't gonna make it and how I'm ready to come home. She like, yeah, you gonna come home for what? Ain't nothing out here. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? So you may as well just get your studies in and get a degree and play some ball like you always said you wanted to. You know, my sophomore year, you know, getting to play a little bit more, and then it's like, oh, okay, meeting new people, you know, trying to make myself, because like you said, I wasn't ever really a social butterfly, you know, at any stretch. But just meeting new people, putting myself out there a little bit more, you know, realizing that it's an experience that's gonna help make me into a man, and then getting to my junior year and actually starting to like it, you know, at Tech, you know, making even more friends, having a certain amount of freedom, doing, you know, like just stuff, you know, shopping for myself, you know, cooking my meals at the apartment and stuff. And then going into my senior year where I'm like, yeah, you know, this is now a place that's going to help me reach my ultimate goal. Like I started believing like, man, I can actually go to the league. You know, people are saying that I have, you know, talent enough to go. So just working hard to try to achieve that. So the thing that I love and just remember and think so much about Virginia Tech is just the way that it helped me grow up. When you're talking like on the field though, you know, it's no question that I pretty much saved my best for last. You know, we weren't a passing team. You know, a good day for me was getting 3 catches. You know, there was many days where I got 1 catch or no catches. That Sugar Bowl for me to have an opportunity to return punts and then catch the ball also on that stage, you know, it's just, I mean, that was, I mean, I couldn't have, that was like a fairy tale storybook type ending for a guy like me to be able to show up that big in that game, you know, on that stage, and help Virginia Tech, you know, reach a height that they hadn't reached before. Because, you know, I'll say it because I was a part of it. That is the biggest win in Virginia Tech football history, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I've said it even now since the 2000. I stand by that.
Yeah.
I stand by that. I'm sorry, but I have to agree with you.
Yeah. And look, there's so many people that I've met, Virginia Tech fans, so many people that I met say, oh, you're Bryan Still? Man, let me shake your hand. Because when you return that punt against Texas, my whole night turned around. Everybody at the party was doom and gloom and sad. And then when that punt return happened and we turned that momentum in that game, so many people came up like, man, thank you, man. You know, that was a historic moment and something I'll never forget.
B, I'll tell you, man, it's funny because when I started this podcast about a month ago, I was writing down people I wanted to talk to. And I remember I got connected with you. I told you how excited I was because I hadn't seen you since we did some stuff with Oxendine. But I was a redshirt freshman that year. I played, if we were up big, I played sometimes just to give Chris Malone a break, but I wasn't a starter. But I remember that game. And I showed my son. It was on YouTube. I get, when you watch YouTube, certain things that they recommend is based on your interests or what you subscribe to.
Yeah.
And that game came up. I said, Isaiah, come here. And I
Is your son named Isaiah too?
Yes.
My oldest son is Isaiah.
Yeah, see? Hey, great minds think alike, man. I love that name until he irritates me.
Yeah.
But I put it on. And his eyes got big because it was, I skipped to the point because Texas was giving us work.
Yeah.
And that's Texas. And even now, Texas is a household name. I always say when you're building a program, no matter if it's AAU basketball, high school basketball, football, whatever track, you have to beat a well-known and respected opponent. And in a lot of ways, the moments in Tech history I always revert to the Andre Davis game against West Virginia in primetime on Thursday night when he scored 3 touchdowns like in the minute and 20. But it was the same thing for you. You took over that game with the punt return, and then they played man. I can't do that move you put on dude, but drunk hits you deep. And my son was like, who's checking him? That's how wide open you were. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then here's the thing I was telling my son, because I'm a historian when it comes to not just sports, but in life, because I believe in the connections. You, Antonio Freeman, Jermaine Holmes, and Corny White were, in my humble opinion, still, and at that time and now, arguably one of the top receiving corps of Virginia Tech history. The only one I think that's comparable right there with you was when Tech had Justin Harper, Joshua Morgan, Eddie Royal, and the other kid, I forgot his name, man. You guys, you pushed each other in practice, and what made it even great was that you went against Antonio Banks and those other guys, Killer, a.k.a. William Yarbrough, and Torian Gray. All those guys, even including the youngins, Lauren and Anthony Midget, all those guys, those battles y'all had, the trash talking, like when we got to the Sugar Bowl, man, you made it look easy. And that was such an integral moment in Virginia Tech history.
Yeah. Them dudes that I played against every day in practice, I mean, it was just like football for me back then. That's when it was easy, man. That's when it was just like, man, you just show up, work hard, and you got that superior like athletic ability and skill. And so football back then was just so easy for me. And so it wasn't no pressure, man. I was just like, man, who is this dude, man? I don't care. Like I'm gonna run right by him. Just let him come on up here, So those was the good times. Good times.
Was there anybody? I mean, I know that was years ago, and don't sleep. I tell people the Big East at that time, even though it was up and coming, before it folded or whatever it is now, it was tough. West Virginia, there were some guys across the board, DBs, that were really very good, talented. I know the respect you have for your opponent is real, but I know also how you and Freeman thought, like, I'm getting ready to take him to the house. Were there some corners though, with that being said, that you were like, okay, this guy's tough. Like I gotta run my route more precise.
Yeah. I mean, some guys that I remember Anthony Dorsett, man, because he had some speed. He played at Pitt back in the day. Carlos Jones from Miami was a good, quick little corner. Syracuse had some guys, but I mean, those just a couple of guys that I remember. Who else I remember was Aaron Beasley.
I was going to say from West Virginia, Beasley.
Beasley played pretty good D, and me and him had some battles out there, but he was a tough guy, and he played a long time in the league too. So
sure did.
So he did a great job. There was a few guys that I remember, good battles.
When you look back at those years at Tech, I mean, we're playing college, we're having fun. I think our generation wanted to go to the league. It was obviously a goal of ours. but I remember you didn't have anybody really departing early or talking about, yeah, I got this draft grade. I remember Antonio Freeman. It was obvious he was a high profile prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maurice, you know, he was up for the Heisman for a little bit. But did you ever think back like, okay, my junior year is starting to come together, my senior year, nobody can touch me. Did you know, like, okay, I'm now going to the league after I'm done here, or like it just kind of happened?
So let's see, let's go back. So I think it was my sophomore year, Tyrone Drakeford got drafted in the second round by San Francisco. So Drake was like our first, you know, my generation guys that you know, got picked, you know, kind of high in the draft. So Drake went, and I remember we was in the field house messing around. He was doing some workout. You know, we was probably in there running routes or something, messing around. And me and Drake raced. I beat him. I'm a sophomore. He's a senior. He's a second round draft pick. I beat him in the field house. We probably only ran 20, 30 yards. I don't know. We might have ran the 40 together, something like that. But I beat him. And that thing, when I beat Drake, because Drake was on the board as like number 3 all-time fastest at Tech.
Yes, I remember that board in Gentry's weight room.
Yeah, I beat him. So from that point, you know, whether he was jogging, whether he ain't really feel like running that day, that took my confidence and just put it through the roof. So that's my sophomore year. I'm like, dog, I just beat this dude. He's second round. All I got to do is keep working. I know I got the speed. I just got to get me some catches and keep working and getting a little stronger, get a little bigger. And I think I can do it. Then the next year, so that was Free senior year. My junior year, Free goes up and gets drafted in the third round. And Free has some good numbers. I used to see him every day. So I'm seeing Free. I'm like, you know, Free good, no doubt. One of the best I've seen. But I was like, man, I feel like I'm pretty good too. Because I can run, I can catch. I'm fearless coming across the middle and stuff. You know, we used to battle back and forth. All I had to do was get a little bit bigger, stronger. I got another year. So I'm believing it now at this point. And then my senior year come up and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be real good because I'm like feeling really good about myself. All I got to do is stay healthy, keep running, keep working hard, and the chips will fall where they may. My senior year, first game of the season, I separated my shoulder against Boston College. Yep, separated my shoulder against Boston College. I was doing well that game too. First game, I had like an 80-some yard touchdown.
Yep.
You know, we was battling, had me a couple of other catches. I think when I went out the game, I had like 3 or 4 catches for 100 and some yards. And that was right at the beginning of the second half when I went out. And when I got hit, I knew something wasn't right, man. I was like, damn, something ain't right, man. My shoulder is killing me. It was my right shoulder. I was like, man, something ain't right, man. I tried to get up and shake it off, but just couldn't. End up missing a couple of games. But, you know, we were still, you know, we started off that year 0-2, but then we had started on that run. And we was winning games and we was on TV, you know, on our way. And, you know, yeah, so by that time, once I was able to get over my shoulder injury and come back and play some more, then I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm doing good, scoring a couple of touchdowns, you know, getting some catches, putting up some good numbers, getting respect out there by the other defensive coaches and stuff. And then we're in the hotel before the Sugar Bowl. Before the Sugar Bowl, me and Coach Beamer end up on the elevator. I don't know, probably going to a meeting or something. And he's like, "Oh yeah, Bryan, I just got the letter today that you're invited to the combine." And when he said I'm invited to the combine, then I knew pretty much. I said, I know it now. This is before the Sugar Bowl. He tells me I'm invited to the combine because I know, you know, just like I do, Big Vic. You know, I could run and I could jump and I was athletic and I was going to catch the ball. So at the combine, that's all I got to do. That's all I got to do is go and run and catch the ball. I'm like, these dudes are going to be amazed. So from that point, once I knew that I was invited to the combine, then I knew all I had to do was weigh in at something above 170. That's all I had to do. Cause you know, back in the day, I was 159, 160 pounds soaking
Yeah,
wet.
you were built a lot like Allen Iverson.
A little skinny little dude. So I was like, all I got to do is weigh in at something above 170 and I'll be on my way. And I got help with that because before the combine, we had to get drug tested and I couldn't go to the bathroom. So I had to keep drinking water. And this was the same day where you get weighed. So I know I had about a gallon of water in my belly when I went in. I weighed in at 174.
Perfect.
Exactly. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. So, speaking of that, do you ever? I was talking to some of the guys on the book, Facebook, and I still have my binder. I posted about 5 years ago, just a little picture of it because I didn't want to violate, Coach Gentry's code.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of us were talking on Facebook recently about all the workouts and phases and everything. Do you feel like even though you were a great athlete and you worked hard and you prepared yourself, do you think that Coach Gentry and those trainings, the phases and all those things we did also played a part in you being ready?
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
Yeah.
Because when I was getting ready for the combine and stuff, all I did was take Coach Gentry's stuff and just adjust it a little bit and use it for my vertical. I mean, because we did all those tests. We did all those tests, the vertical, the 40, standing
Shuttle.
Yeah, shuttle. Yeah, we did all that stuff. Plus, I was in good shape. So I was ready to go, man. Coach Gentry, I probably wasn't his favorite guy because I was a little guy trying to do the least amount of weightlifting that I possibly could. But he definitely used to appreciate some of the stuff that I did outside of the weight room, like when it came to running and training. And I always remember he used to always say, B, how do you bound up that hill? Because I just used to bound up the hill. We'll be on that hill right behind the weight room.
I remember that hill.
And he was like, man, do that again. Show me how to do it. I'm bounding up that hill. So I definitely appreciate Coach Gentry and all those guys for helping getting me ready.
Do you think you can do it right now? Go out and run 16 110s this weekend? Could you do it?
Yeah.
Could you do it?
So I run regularly. But I don't run 110. So if you gave me, I don't know, 30 seconds for each 110, I can do 16 of them easy.
Okay, that's what's up. All right, that's good. And before we get to your NFL career, I do got to ask you, because I asked Dre this, because speed is I'm always amazed by guys like yourself, because in sports, especially track and football, basketball kind of, but not really. But in football, when you have speed, you have a weapon. That old Al Davis Raiders mentality. If I took you, and this is a question I always ask guys like yourself, especially when I'm around a lot of y'all, you, David Wilson, David Clowney, Andre Davis, Mike Vick, some of the fastest guys in tech history. Because this has been asked, I've seen papers ask both you guys, as you and Dre, who do you think wins in your prime? You know what I'm saying? Mike, David Wilson, David Clowney, Keith Brunel, all the speedsters. Like, what do you think?
Look, this is what I'll say. The 40s after I left are fake. Because I look up there, like I ran 4.31 at Virginia Tech. Legit, 4.31. I ran 4.35 or 4.37, something like that, at the combine. So that speaks for itself. I ran the fastest time in the 40 at the combine in 1996. I think they put it down like 4.38, some 4.3. I ran 4.3 at the combine. I ran 4.31 at Tech. But then, I'm looking, after I leave, Andre Davis then ran 4.25. Vic then ran 4.23. Like you say, all them other dudes then ran something super fast. So my 4.31 by the time, 2005 or so was around, my 4.31 was barely hanging on in the top 10. And I know probably by now it's way off the list. But if I would have loved to, so you would have had to take me in I say give me August, right before my senior year. So this would have been August 95. August 95, and I would have raced any of them dudes. And it would have been close. I don't know if I could have beat him because Michael Vick is the fastest dude that I ever seen, you know. But some dudes run faster with the football. So I ran fast, you know, in that 40, but I didn't necessarily look like lightning fast on the field. Vick looks super fast, like he's in fast forward. So I don't know if I could have beat Michael Vick.
Well, you know what? It's all fun. It's one of those things we'll never know. I always ask that because, like I said, you know, I was down there with the big uglies and we were linemen. I mean, you know, we offensive linemen and D linemen, you know, unless you were DN, we're not even talking about that. But I think it's always cool because
look, the question is, could you beat Jay Haygood in the 40?
Oh, look, yeah, I can't. Not now. I don't know, but I was, you know what, man? I think when I was coming to Tech, I was running the fastest time I ran was a 4.9 or 5 flat. I was pretty fast for a lineman, but Haygood, man, Haygood. You know, it's funny. Jay's my big bro, and I tell people all the time, man. Jay was an athlete. Like he can hoop, he can run. Yeah. Jay, and here's the thing: if you race Haygood, he probably he would just probably stop in the middle of the race because if he don't feel like doing nothing, he ain't doing it. Jay, you know. But all jokes aside, hey, Jay was a great athlete, and it's funny too because you talk about the weight room and Gentry. Gentry loved Jay on the field, but Jay won't even barely benching 300 pounds. Like, Haygood would be in there like, man, he'd be rubbing. You know, we had those gray Virginia Tech sweaters where they wrote the number on the football. Yeah. And Haygood would be like, hey, man, what bench you on? He trying to get to the far end and get his workout and get done. But on game day, he was a dog. I just looked up to all you guys, man. You guys don't realize the impact you had on me in my class and even the guys right behind me, man. But at the same time, when your name got called and you're in the league and you go to the combine, you do your thing, I remember where I was at. And I remember, like, when I found out just being, you know, overjoyed and happy because one of my brothers made it. And you get the call by the Chargers, correct?
Yeah.
What round?
Second round.
All right. Yeah. So what was it like, San Diego Chargers? They call your name. They call you. Like, were you thinking it was going to be, you know, the Rams, a different team? You know, the NFL so crazy on draft day. What was it like?
So the whole time, you know, going through the process, I never even really remember talking to San Diego, you know, much at all. They say that they had talked to me at the combine, but at the combine, you talking to people, you know, 24/7, it seems like. So me being a Virginia boy, I wanted to stay somewhere close to home, man. I wanted to go to the Carolina Panthers. I want to go to Baltimore. You know,
Redskins.
Even send me to the Redskins. I hate the Redskins, but I would have taken the Redskins in a minute just because it was home. It was local. Yeah. You know, Philly. You know, send me somewhere. You know, East Coast. So I'm at my grandma's and we're sitting around waiting for the draft. I had talked to Baltimore. They say they might have got me at the end of the first round. You know, they end up picking Ray Lewis. That was a smart pick. Yeah. And then the second round comes around. And so, you know, back then the draft lasted forever. The first round, 15 minutes in between picks. So we turn it on at noon. And it's about 7 o'clock and I still didn't get picked. And I'm thinking like, man, I thought I was going to get picked. Like, I didn't think I was going to be waiting around here that long, but the draft just took so long.
Yeah, it was different back then.
Yeah. Then the second round comes and it's like 10 minutes in between picks. So I'm going, I'm like, all right, get my friends and stuff. And I leave my grandma's house where we at. I'm just going to take a ride, go to the mall, play some video games. Cause I ain't had a Sega at my grandma's house. We just go to the arcade room at the mall in Martinsville. I didn't have no cell phone because I don't even know if cell phones was out back then. But I had a pager, a beeper, and they said if anybody call you, we'll beep you. But I don't think I had roaming on it or something. You know, something was wrong with my pager. Yeah. Because you know we spent about an hour at the mall, come back home. My mom and them jumping, running up and down, like jumping up and down, screaming, "You going to San Diego? You going to San Diego?" I was like, "Damn, I didn't even know." And they like, you got picked. I was like, man, thank goodness. And then they kept on saying San Diego. And I was like, damn, San Diego? Like,
out
man,
there.
I looked at it this way. I knew it was in California. Look at that thing way down there by Mexico. But I was happy, man. Happy that I got picked, but sad that I had to go away to San Diego. But got out there, met all the people. They treated me nice while I was out there. Just excited about being picked and getting a chance to live out my dream, but sad that I had to go away to San Diego.
And you get there to the Chargers, man, seems like other than a few seasons here and there with Phillip Rivers, they've been rebuilding.
Yeah.
When you get, I'm just being honest. I'm not nothing against the Chargers. I've been in San Diego, great weather. I went with my wife years ago when my oldest was little, and I enjoyed my time. You're right. There is a strong Hispanic population there, given the location. Very friendly city, but football just seemed as an afterthought. And you get there. How was it? Like, what happened? I mean, was it a tough transition?
So when I get to San Diego, believe it or not, they had been to the Super Bowl in '94. So I got drafted in '96. So they were 2 years removed from the Super Bowl. The year prior, they had made it to the playoffs. I think they were a wild card and ended up getting bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, didn't they lose to our guy Drake for them?
Yes. So in '94, they lost to San Francisco, got blown out by San Francisco, but they made it to the Super Bowl. '95, they made it to the playoffs, got bounced out in the first round, I think. And then when I got there, Bobby Ross was still the head coach. And he was a good coach. Liked him. He was a stickler, but he was a player's coach. He was easy to talk to. He was from Richmond, so we had that in common. He was friends with Coach Beamer. Him and Ralph Friesian, both.
They're all friends. They used to vacation together.
Yep. So I think, afterthought, that's probably why I got picked, because they had that connection with Coach Beamer, and Beans, I'm sure, told him great things about me. When I get there, though, our quarterback, Stan Humphries, ends up suffering like a string of concussions. So they're bringing in backups, and so we're struggling a little bit. We ended up that season 8-8. And then it evidently was a power struggle. So that first year, man, I was in and out, like struggling. I had injured my hamstring for the first time, a lot of lame excuses and reasons why I didn't have success when I first got there. But ultimately, I tell people this all the time. I didn't work enough and didn't do all the things necessary for me to be successful my first couple of years. Humphries was in and out of the lineup. We get through that first year 8-8, and Bobby Ross and Bobby Beathard end up having issues. Like they had some type of power struggling issues. Beathard wanted to play some younger players. Bobby Ross wanted to go for his old vets and win now. And so they end up firing Bobby Ross at the end of my rookie season. Then we brought in Kevin Gilbride that second year. Gilbride comes in and he's the hotshot offensive coordinator, and he's working on revamping the offense, but we struggle. That second year was the year where I started actually getting in the game more. Had started a couple of games near the end of the season, getting some catches. Gilbride struggled. We struggled as a team. I think we were 4-12 or something that second year. Then the third year, we draft Ryan Leaf. So we're still searching for a quarterback. So we draft Ryan Leaf. Gilbride gets fired mid-season because we're struggling. Ryan started off good. He ended up struggling the third, and it was our job to help him. We didn't help him enough. I as a receiver, I take all that blame for Ryan Leaf not being successful because we should have got open more. We should have ran our routes better. But the third year, Gilbride gets fired mid-season. We hire June Jones. June Jones takes us to the end of that year, but they let him go at the end of that year. Fourth year comes, we hire a new head coach, Mike Riley. So saying all this to say that, it was a team in flux, a lot of rebuilding, a lot of stuff, but ultimately, I didn't do the things that I needed to do to be successful and have a long career. Because I went in there hoping and trying to set myself up for having a long Hall of Fame type career. I was going to be a outside speed receiver, and that was what I was trying to do. My best year was probably my third year. Had like 40-something catches, 600-something yards, a couple of touchdowns. But my fourth year, new coach, he brought in a whole new philosophy. My time kind of had run out. Those first 3 years is what they give you to kind of prove yourself. I hadn't really done enough to that point. So I ended up getting released from San Diego midway through my fourth year. Got picked up by the Falcons. Went down there the year after they went to the Super Bowl. So they had a really good year in 98, I think it was. And then 99, Jamal Anderson got hurt. Dirty Bird went away.
That Dirty Bird went away real quick.
Exactly. They were struggling. And so we struggled while I was there. Ended up getting released from Atlanta. Picked up by the Cowboys at the end of that same season. Only stayed in Dallas a couple of weeks. Didn't get to play in a game because somebody got hurt. I was the last man to get there, first one to leave. So somebody got hurt. We got to get rid of somebody. Let's get rid of the new guy. Didn't really get a chance to do much while I was in Dallas. And then I finished out that next season. Got signed by Chicago. And by that time, bouncing around, feeling like I don't know if I really and truly want to play anymore, feeling like it was time for me to do something else in my life. I was just like, you know what, man, I'm not going back to Chicago. It's too cold up here. I'll rather go home and start the rest of my life instead of trying to hang on in Chicago. So that's how it went, man.
And I hear you talk, and I can't help but to reminisce about conversations I've had with Cornell Brown when I went to the Ravens in their minicamp as an undrafted free agent. When I got released, I told Cornell they were sending me home, and he dapped me up and he gave me a hug, and he said they hit him up later, and he was like, it's not the same. And then I didn't understand what he meant, but I later did after talking to my cousin Mike when he was with the Falcons. I'm seeing him. He's a face of the league, and all the different guys that I talked to, Hager when he was with the Jets, TJ when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is hearing all that change, you played for McFee and then Beamer, two legends, exactly. Consistency and stability. The NFL is the biggest business in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's not consistent unless you're with the Patriots. Other than that, and they have coaching turnover and free agency. It's just, it's very tough. And I remember talking to Cornell, and, he enjoyed it when they were playing because, him, Bo Ware, Saragusa, and all those guys, Ray Lewis, but it's not the same chemistry you have and time and stability you have at Tech. And I definitely understand what you meant. I mean, did you have that same sentiments when you were there?
Yeah, no doubt. It's a business, and when they're paying you that type of money, they expect a certain thing to be done a certain type of way, and there is no true loyalty, no conversations with your mom and stuff like that that growing up, where they're gonna try to look out for you. It's strictly business. And, that's the part that kind of wears you down. Like, it's a job. And you got to have that mentality, man. There's a lot of guys who played it for a long time. And the thing that I know is guys have to have that mentality. You have to have that mentality where you understand, number one, that it's a business and you can accept all that goes into it. Like, I wasn't a guy that was ever like happy and willing to accept those things. The way that the business part of it worked. It just, once I got there and I was like, man, it's like this. I don't know if this is what I want to do. I thought it was, but I don't know, But a lot of guys, you have that mentality, you got that laser focus, and that's what you need to have in order to have that longevity and staying in the league.
For sure, I completely agree. And with, you mentioned earlier in the beginning of our spotlight, you talk about coaching. Is that what do your sons play? And is that what you got into when you hung your cleats up and your helmet up? Did you get into coaching or, what?
Yeah, so ultimately when I finished playing, I had a goal of being a high school football coach. That's what I want to do. I want to come back home and coach football and help kids the way that my coaches helped me. So I started off just volunteering at my old high school. And then they started telling me, like, man, if you want to be a head coach, you're going to have to get a teaching job. So I was like, all right, if that's going to be my easy path to a head coaching job, I'll go ahead and take a couple of more classes, because I graduated with a degree in communications. But I didn't want to be an English teacher or a computer teacher or anything, or journalism. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do PE and coach. So I had to go to school and take a couple of more classes so I could get my certification to teach PE. And I interviewed for a couple of high school jobs, didn't get them. And then as time went on, I was still teaching. And then I had other opportunities as far as track goes to coach. And so I was coaching football and track just like as an assistant. And then pretty soon, track kind of took my ultimate focus, because I was tired of the time and some of the other things that go along with coaching high school football.
Oh, it's commitment.
Yeah. So and track takes a high level of commitment too, but football is just a whole nother level. So after I stopped coaching football, I stopped coaching for a little bit. And I was still coaching track, and I was like, man, I don't know if I ever really want to go back to coaching football, at this point, because I enjoy coaching track. I love my kids. I love all the athletes that I had an opportunity to come in contact with. And I just try to help them and motivate them and tell them my story, to try to let them see that you can reach it, but just because you reach it, don't be satisfied, and there's always more that you could do. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't be successful or you can't do something.
For sure. And your sons, did they end up playing anything?
So my oldest son played 1 year flag football. He didn't like it. And then when he got to high school, he wanted to join the freshman team. So he played freshman and JV football and liked it pretty good. And at the same time, he was running track for me also, played little league baseball. So my oldest son played football, baseball, played a little basketball and rec, and then he ran track. He ended up running track for me all 4 years in high school. I coached him, and he was pretty good. Had a chance to run the state meet, and he's on our all-time 400-meter list. So he did a good job. And like I said, he's a junior at Virginia Tech now. My little son, he played football about 4 years in Little League, and end up saying, Dad, I don't want to play no football no more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play. So I made him play his second year of tackle when he was in the upper age group, to see if he liked it, being on that side, being one of the ones that plays more. And he was the quarterback on the team, got a chance to run the ball, but he still didn't like it. He played baseball, was pretty good in baseball, didn't really like that either. Loves to play soccer. My oldest son actually plays soccer too, so he loves to play soccer. So he plays a little soccer now, and a little bit of rec-based basketball. But doing good, man. Look, they happy, doing well in school. Can't ask for any more. I coach my little son in football. I'm not coaching him in track. He's going to high school next year. And his older brother always say, Ian, are you gonna run track next year for your daddy? He's like, no, I don't want to do all that running. So
yeah. Do they know how fast you were? I mean, we didn't have YouTube and all that. They know that you were about that life.
So I tell them that all the time. I beat my oldest son racing the last time we raced. I will not race him again. But they know. Look, every New Year's Eve, I put in the old VHS of the Sugar Bowl, and we watch it in together. Come on over here, boy, and watch this. Yeah. So
that's what's up, man. That's awesome. So, B, I just have one last question. When you look at your life so far, and you had, like anyone, ups and downs, but a lot of success and an outstanding career on and off the field. What has the game and just your journey so far taught you? And the second part to that question is, what feedback would you give to someone aspiring to be an athlete like yourself or trying to get to that next level? What has it taught you, and what's your feedback to them?
So my life has taught me up until this point, like, so much stuff. Number one, that you can do whatever you put your mind to. Like, if I think about something and really put my mind to it, then that means that I can do it. And as I've gone through my life, you know, I had many obstacles in the way. People either telling me that I wasn't good enough, wasn't fast enough, wasn't smart enough. And then that's just motivation. You don't turn away from the challenge. You step up to the challenge. And that's the way that I've kind of gone through my life. Like, when something is in the way, you know, you got to run through it. So that's what I try to tell people all the time. And then as far as advice that I give other people, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. So I talk to kids and people all the time about taking advantage of opportunities. Take advantage of the opportunity while you have it. And I always tell them, when you get old like me, it's too late. When you get out of high school, you can't go back to high school and try a little bit harder. It's too late. So take advantage of every opportunity that you've been given, and live every day trying to get better. You don't ever stay the same. You either getting better or worse. So make every day a day that you're trying to get better.
I salute that, man. That's real talk, and I agree with you 100%, man. I've enjoyed this Legacy Spotlight with you, man, even though I was part of it, you know, teammates for a few years. It's been an honor to have you on the pod. I appreciate you, man. I'm sure when this airs, a lot of people that have been checking for you and followed your career are going to appreciate you. It's been great. And for those watching, again, appreciate the support. And as I always say, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, have a positive impact and leave a great legacy. Thank you. Thank you, Bryan Steele.
Thank you, man. Have a great day and good luck.
Thank you.
All right.